Anthony Edwards just said Larry Bird had no skill, and the entire basketball world stopped spinning. Not because a young player had a bad take, that happens every week, but because Edwards said it while admitting he never even watched the old NBA. Shaquille O'Neal heard those words and went nuclear. And by the time you hear what Shaq said, you'll understand why this isn't just about one comment anymore. It's about a generation that stopped respecting the players who built the league they're getting rich in. I have got 4 reasons why Anthony Edwards just exposed himself, and why Shaq's response ended this debate for good. Let's get into it. So here's what went down. Anthony Edwards sat down for an interview, and when the conversation turned to older NBA players, he said this: "They say it was tougher back then than it is now, but I don't think anybody had skill back then. Michael Jordan was the only one that really had skill. Larry Bird had no skill." That's what Edwards is pushing. The same man who walked into the 1986 three-point contest, looked every competitor dead in the eye, and said, "Which one of you is coming in second?" That guy had no skill. The same player who told defenders exactly where he was about to shoot, then hit the shot right in their face while they couldn't do anything about it. That's who Edwards called unskilled. And here's what most people miss. Bird's skill wasn't just about shooting, it was about control, total psychological dominance. He told a defender once, "I'm going to wait till you get 1 step away from me, and I'ma shoot it right in your face." The defender rushed over. Bird released the shot, all net. Then he turned and said, "You did all that running for nothing." That's not just skill, that's mental warfare. And Bird never let up. Every game, every quarter, every possession, he stayed in your head. He would tell you what was about to happen, then go out and prove it anyway. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. That's just trash talk. Any player can talk. But here's the difference. Bird backed it up every single time with cold precision. His competition accepted defeat before the contest even started. Nobody spoke up in that locker room because they all already knew Bird was about to win. That's not confidence. That's dominance on another level. And that's the same player Anthony Edwards called unskilled while playing in a league where even small contact gets called out. And that's exactly where Shaq came in, and he did not hold back at all. When Shaq heard those comments, he didn't try to be polite or careful. He went straight at it with full force. Grew up watching Dr. J, Magic Mike, played with Kobe and all that, so I know what greatness looks like. You want me to see it now and call it greatness? I can't. This isn't a former player guessing. This is someone who grew up watching the era Edwards dismissed, then competed against it, then dominated his own era with 4 championships and 3 finals MVPs. When Shaq says the old NBA had greatness, he's not speaking from nostalgia. He's speaking from experience. And when people tried to call him a hater, Shaq shut that down immediately. "You ain't great, and I'm great. How the hell can I hate on you? That don't make no sense. I'm in the building and you're not in the building. You can't call it hate when someone already did more than you." Shaq climbed that mountain and is looking down from the top. And from his view, a lot of modern players aren't even close. But here's where things get interesting. Shaq didn't just attack modern players. He did something nobody expected. He took responsibility. Listen to this. "I think it's my fault that the game is being played the way it's played now. When I was dominating the post, teams had to bring in centers to bring me out from the post. So shoot the jumper. It's my fault that guys are playing soft." That's a stunning admission. Shaq's dominance was so overwhelming that teams had no choice but to adjust just to survive. There wasn't a center strong enough, big enough, or tough enough to deal with him. So the league shifted. Teams started building stretch bigs, players who stay outside and shoot instead of battling inside. The gritty physical game that Larry Bird thrived in slowly got replaced by something softer and more spaced out. And Shaq is saying that shift happened because nobody could deal with what he brought to the floor, and he doesn't like what it turned into. I hate big guys shooting threes. Then he took it even further. Steph Curry and those guys messed it up. I don't mind Golden State shooting threes, but every team's not a three-point shooting team. Why does everybody have the same strategy? It makes the game boring. And honestly, he has a point. Every team in the NBA feels the same now. Dribble handoff at the top, swing it around, launch a three, miss, sprint back, repeat. Back in Bird's era, teams had real identity. Utah hit you with Stockton and Malone pick and roll until you couldn't take it. The Lakers had Showtime. Every squad had its own personality. Now, everything blends together. Before I get to the final reason that completely destroys Edwards' argument, hit that like button if you're enjoying this breakdown and subscribe to the Sports Verdict Daily. Every single day, we give you the final call on the biggest stories in American sports. Now, let's get back to it. And this is where the whole conversation flips on its head. People started asking the question that ends every era debate. What would prime Shaq do in today's NBA? And the answer is terrifying. Nobody could stop Shaq back then. Not Hakeem Olajuwon, not David Robinson, not Patrick Ewing. These are all-time great defensive centers, and Shaq still dominated them. So what happens when you drop that same force into a league that barely has true centers anymore? A league where the tallest players are standing outside, waiting to shoot threes instead of battling inside? Shaq himself answered it. There's no MVP big man that's going to play defense, right? Hakeem was a defensive player, David Robinson was a defensive player, Patrick Ewing was a defensive player. Those bigs played defense, and he was eating their lunch. 40 and 15. Easy. 40 points and 15 rebounds. Easy. That's what Shaq would average in a league that doesn't even focus on post defense anymore. And he didn't stop there. I will make all of them quit, and they know it. Not just beat them, make them quit. That's a different level of dominance. So when Anthony Edwards says, the era that produced Shaq's competition had no skill, it doesn't just sound off. It sounds completely disconnected from reality. If the players from that era could shake someone like Shaq, a man who even admitted he was terrified playing against Michael Jordan, then calling that era unskilled makes absolutely no sense. And this is where everything comes full circle. What started as one comment from Anthony Edwards turned into a reality check for the entire basketball world. Because this isn't just about Larry Bird or Shaq or even Anthony Edwards anymore. It's about how the game remembers greatness. The legends didn't just show up. They built this league step by step. Blood, sweat, injuries, pressure. Everything went into making the NBA what it is today. And when that gets brushed off like it's nothing, people are going to speak up, just like Shaq did, loud and clear. What Shaq is really saying comes down to one thing. You can't recognize greatness if you never took the time to study it. Edwards admitted he never watched the old NBA. No film study, no real understanding, and still bold enough to call one of the greatest shooters and competitors ever unskilled. That's not a hot take. That's straight ignorance with a mic in front of it. Now imagine flipping it the other way. Imagine Bird or Jordan casually saying today's players have no skill without even watching them. That wouldn't sit right with anyone. So why should it go unchecked the other way around? Respect in basketball goes both directions. You don't have to say one era is better, but you can't ignore what came before either. That balance is what keeps the game real. So here's the final call. Anthony Edwards didn't just miss the mark. He showed a gap in understanding the game itself. Because if you can watch Larry Bird tell the entire league he's winning before the contest starts, if you can see him call his shots and still drain them in defenders' faces, if you can witness that level of control and still say no skill, then the issue isn't with the past. The issue is right now. It's how the game is being viewed by players who came in without studying what built it. That's the Sports Verdict Daily Take. Greatness doesn't expire, it sets the standard. If you made it this far, you already know the deal. Subscribe to the Sports Verdict Daily, hit the bell, and you'll get the call on every major story in American sports every single day. Drop your take in the comments. Was Edwards out of line, or is this just the new generation speaking their truth? Let's hear it. I'll see you tomorrow. Same time, next verdict.